Okay, this is going to be a pretty difficult live stream to have because the last time we went out here and did one of these player prop live streams, we lost a lot of money last week. I mean, we had a lot of losing bets. We had a couple parlays hit, but overall, we had a losing week on the season. We are still profitable, which of course that's what matters, but it hurts me knowing that some of y'all listened to those bets yesterday and I did not come through for y'all. And that's why I always wanted to go through and at the beginning of every single one of these videos, what do? We go and we show all the results that we have had so far this season so we can be completely transparent with all of the bets that we have made, whether it's winning and losing. And at the same time, got to put out the disclaimer that I am truly stupid. So let's go through, let's pull up these past player props. And remember, with all these past player props, they're parlays. So you're going to see a lot of bad bets. You're going to see a lot of misses, but you'll see, that every single bet we make is essentially a 3-player parlay. So if you get 1 out of every 6 correct, you break even. So if you get 1 out of every 5 correct, you are profitable. And you'll see that with the numbers next to the players themselves. So let's go and let's pull up our results really quick. And we're going to do this extremely fast. Okay. Y'all should all have seen this by now. You can always just pull up any other one that y'all have seen. We'll hide my camera real quick so y'all can pause it. Y'all can look at the numbers. Here's the losing week. Brutal. I mean, the week before that, we had a pretty good one. If we're going to go through and pull this up, just a tough one. Here, of course, where a lot of the winning came. We've had 2 losing stretches this season so far, and that was back, I don't even remember if it was like week 6, I want to say. And then also we've had 2 really hot stretches at the same time. So at the end, y'all been able to see that this is still profitable. But oh my God, if we have another losing week, we're definitely in the red. If we have another losing week, we are in the red for good. So hopefully we are able to come back this one. But nonetheless, of course, if y'all have not done so already, make sure y'all go down there and drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and at the same time, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy, where we will see all these pick'em bets on Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up and you use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Yes, this is the same website we do our drafts on as well. But let's go through. Let's check this out. I see a lot of people coming out in the chat talking about Darrell Henderson being out, what it means for Sony Michel. Sadly, you're not going to get to see a Sony Michel player prop on this video because that game's on Monday night. So with Underdog Fantasy on those Monday night games, they first put the Sunday games up, and once the Sunday games get played, then they'll have the Monday night props. But nonetheless, let's go through and let's check this out. And Rashad Bateman, y'all know we went through, and one of the idiotic bets we made last week is we bet the over on Rashad Bateman at 30.5 receiving yards. Now, not only did Rashad Bateman not hit that number, but at the same time, Rashad Bateman last week ran less routes than both Sammy Watkins and Devin Duvernay. So I know a lot of people are probably going to be looking at that Rashad Bateman number. I agree. Rashad Bateman is a talented wide receiver in the long term, especially from a dynasty fantasy football context. You can be excited about Rashad Bateman, but here, I think that we're probably going to be avoiding this situation. I'm fine with this over on Lamar Jackson because you're looking at Lamar Jackson saying, okay, well, at least this is a quarterback that he can get there with the rushing yards, not just passing. Of course, if this was 290 passing yards, we'd be laughing at that number. I think 290 is very reasonable. I actually think we're going to do a couple things here. Now, I don't necessarily want to go through and take any over on the Cleveland Browns. I think that looking at this under from Baker Mayfield, I don't want to say it's a lock, but it is very close to it. Now, one thing that I'm looking at with Cleveland, however, is based on just the fact that they are missing multiple top tight ends. And we know that for a regular offense, their tight end depth doesn't matter that much. But when you remove every tight end from this roster, not named Austin Hooper, you remove Odell Beckham Jr. as well, the passing game weapons are extremely limited this week. So my initial reaction when I go to jump on that Jarvis Landry under 60 receiving yards, we have to kind of take a step back just because the lack of depth at the pass catcher position for Cleveland. And another thing that we have to do is we have to go through and say, okay, well, if we're going to take this under with Baker Mayfield and we can't take the under with Jarvis Landry, where else are we going to go? I don't necessarily want to be taking any of these unders on Baltimore side. I actually maybe like the over with Hollywood Brown. But you know, what we do in every single one of these player prop videos is I try to go through and I try to build in the correlation in the starting lineup. So if Baker Mayfield hits his under in that scenario, we're going through and we're betting that this is going to be a lower scoring contest in general. So then we would want to be taking unders on both the Baltimore Ravens and an additional Cleveland Browns player. That has been our process so far. Now, didn't work for us last week. It didn't work for us the week before. It worked for us 3 weeks ago, and hopefully we can still live on that high. But I think we're actually going to be staying away from this game. I think last week also I got a little ahead of myself, maybe betting too many games that we didn't feel comfortable with. Now, this next matchup, we got the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington football team. And here with Washington, I believe there's a possibility J.D. McKissic's coming back. Now, this is something we probably should have covered in our injury recap video earlier this morning. But the most recent report that we have with J.D. McKissic here is that he's still questionable, health issues, and rejuvenated, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, come on. We need some report. Okay, so it looks like he was still in protocol as of yesterday, but he was a limited participant at practice. So if he were to get clearance before that Sunday game, I would really like to take this under on Antonio Gibson. Now, honestly, I actually really like this Ezekiel Elliott number, because with this Ezekiel Elliott number, you can go through and you can bet a couple things. We can first bet that maybe the Dallas Cowboys get up big and Washington's unable to move the ball down the field, which I think you can make very effective bets in doing so by just taking the under on Taylor Heineke, especially when they don't have a tight end available, and also taking the under on Antonio Gibson here. I really like this over on Ezekiel Elliott, not because how he has looked over the past few weeks. Obviously, Zeke has looked very bad, but with Ezekiel Elliott at the same time, it looks like Tony Pollard's not going to play this game. Tony Pollard has not been officially ruled out, but he has not practiced at all this week. He didn't practice on Friday. Let me go through and double check the most recent report that we have with Tony Pollard just to make sure that we're not going to be missing anything here. But I mean, assuming that you don't have Tony Pollard in this offense, Ezekiel Elliott should have every single touch in this backfield. And yeah, so the last report came out an hour ago saying that he's likely not to play, which is kind of what we assumed. But let's go through and let's bet this over on Ezekiel Elliott, the under on Heineke and Antonio Gibson, essentially betting that the Dallas Cowboys are going to be looking to run the ball in the second half. So we're going to bet $17 to win 102. So like we said, yes, this is an unlikely bet to hit, but you're getting it 6x'd. So you have to make this bet correctly 20% of the time to be profitable, and you have to make it 1 out of every 6 times to break even. So we're going to go through, take that bet. In our next game, we are going to have the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, where honestly, I want to go through and I want to take some unders. I mean, with Derek Carr, if you're going to be looking at what they currently have as just the implied team total for the Las Vegas Raiders, I mean, right now, Vegas and sportsbooks are really betting against this Raiders offense as they have one of the lowest implied team totals of the week. So I'm actually going to be pretty excited to take this Derek Carr under. But like we said, if you're taking the Derek Carr under, you're going to want to go through and build in some correlation with this lineup. You're going to be able to try to build in that correlation by maybe taking the under as well on a player like Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce. Now look at Tyreek Hill himself, just to have an idea of how many times he has gotten to 81 receiving yards. I mean, he missed it this past week, missed it the week before. I mean, if you're going through, I mean, really, he has hit 81 receiving yards twice since week 4. Like, it looks like Tyreek Hill, the majority of the time, is not getting there. I don't love the number on Tyreek Hill at 80.5 itself, but what I do really like is this under on Derek Carr. So with this spread being really big, maybe we bet that the Kansas City Chiefs just look to run the ball in the second half, and we're going to bet that this is a lower scoring contest in general. So let's go and bet 17 to win 102. I don't really like the bets on the Kansas City Chiefs side of it, but I just really want to hammer in that Derek Carr under. And now our next game will be the Seattle Seahawks and the Houston Texans, where, I mean, right now, it looks like you are only going to have Rashad Penny and Alex Collins in this game. I mean, sadly, you're looking at both Travis Homer and DJ Dallas as players that are going to be inactive for Seattle. So that's why you're going to see a larger number for Alex Collins in his own player prop. And also keep in mind with Alex Collins here, this is a running back that does have a really nice matchup against the Houston Texans. That is something that, of course, we can admit here with Alex Collins. Now, with all that being said, I think that there are some unders we can be taking in this game. Y'all are going to notice we're going a little bit more on the under side of things. We have been able to find more success taking those unders as of late. So, I mean, that Alex Collins under is going to stand out to me. If it was total yards, I would definitely be avoiding it. But I mean, this past week, you actually saw them look to get involved, Rashad Penny, a little bit more as the starting running back. And we actually saw that about a month ago as well, when you had both Rashad Penny and Alex Collins healthy. I mean, at the end of the day, you ended up seeing more production from Alex Collins, but they ended up giving Rashad Penny the first shot at that job. So I think betting the under on Alex Collins will be intriguing. I mean, going back to where you were seeing his peak powers, there he is getting 44, 47, 101 rushing yards. So I'm going to be going through, let's bet this under, especially because I want to be betting some unders on the Houston Texans side of things as well. I just really do not think that the Houston Texans will be able to effectively move the ball down the field. We're going to take that under on Davis Mills. And of course, with David Johnson here, I mean, the volume is just a little bit misleading because how bad this offense is. Now, over the past 2 weeks, this is a running back that, I mean, has gotten almost 15 touches a week. So if you're getting a running back with 15 touches a week, I mean, almost 45 yards essentially is guaranteed. I'm going to be avoiding this. Let's just go through and bet 17. I believe that will be for 51 here. Yeah, we're going to bet 17 for 51. And now our next game, let's find, will be the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Tennessee Titans, where now it looks like you will have, I hate to say this, you are going to have Jeremy McNichols being active for the Tennessee Titans. And I think that does change your perception slightly of what you should have for Donta Foreman. So in my mind, I want to go and take the under on Donta Foreman. But how we would build in that correlation is I probably would want to go through and I don't even know. We would want to bet on the Jacksonville Jaguars receivers, maybe saying this game's a little closer than it's projected to, which I'm going to be avoiding. I don't like this Donta Foreman number. Of course, I mean, we're rocking the Texas Longhorns, of course, hook 'em horns, but to go through and bet on that under, I think that's brutal. Now, our next game will have the New Orleans Saints and the New York Jets. Here, Taysom Hill, 253.5 total yards. This Alvin Kamara number looks very aggressive. Remember, they actually had Ezekiel Elliott at about 50.5 rushing yards, and we went through and we bet the under. I think it was at 53.5 rushing yards. They have Kamara for 110 total. I think that the usage Kamara gets in the receiving game is a little bit lessened here with Taysom Hill at quarterback. I actually would like to go through and bet this under. Now, the issue is this will be a game that we're most likely going to have to bet tomorrow morning instead, because right now they don't have the clarity on if Elijah Moore is going to be active or not. And because they don't know if Elijah Moore is going to be active or not, you see that the only other player that we can bet from the New York Jets outside of Zach Wilson is going to be Ty Johnson. And I would rather have more options at the position that we can go through and look to take the under on. So we're going to be avoiding this game as is. Then we'll have the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Carolina Panthers. With Atlanta, I mean, obviously, this is a tough matchup. That's why you have Matt Ryan down there at 231.5 passing yards. And Matt Ryan has been very bad as of late. Now, looking at Chuba Hubbard. Now, Hubbard does have a really nice matchup, but I feel like this projection is just baked into the fact that maybe they're expecting that Chuba Hubbard is guaranteed to come out here and guaranteed to be a running back getting 75% of the touches, where I think it's likely that Chuba Hubbard is going to be the lead back here. I don't necessarily think that it's a guarantee with Amir Abdullah in his new role in this offense. So instead, I would actually probably be going through and taking this under on Chuba Hubbard. Now, if we're going to be taking this under on Chuba Hubbard, I don't even necessarily know how we can go through and build in correlation. Maybe we just go and pick our favorite lines from the other side of this. I'm actually going to be taking the under on Cam Newton as well. I think with Cam, obviously it's a good matchup, but he has to be on a short leash, right? We saw he got benched the week before the bye. So you could see if this offense looks really bad in the first half, Cam Newton possibly not coming back in the second half. So I think the chance of a backdoor cover is a little bit lessened here with Cam Newton. And going over to the Atlanta Falcons side of things to try to figure out exactly where we want to go through and bet against. It's going to be hard to do so with Kyle Pitts because A, he has the talent, B, he has been getting the volume as well. Now with Cordell Patterson, to have him at 90 total yards, of course, if this was rushing yards, I mean, you would go through and you would take a second loan on your house. So you could go through and you could just take that loan and jam every single penny of it into the under. But because this is total yards, you have to be a little bit more skeptical of that. And with Cordell Patterson, he's had almost 1,000 total yards so far through 13 weeks here. Now, it is a very tough matchup against the Carolina Panthers. And if I think that we're going to be betting on the under on the Carolina side of things, I would imagine that we're most likely assuming that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be looking to run the ball in the second half. So we probably have to be avoiding the Cordell Patterson line there. Now to go over to Russell Gage, obviously Russell Gage shows us the ceiling this past week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, that was a game that you had Matt Ryan in this offense having to go out there and throw. And we know the Buccaneers have a good defense, but they have a better run defense than they have a good defense. Now you're going back a couple weeks to see Russell Gage. I mean, this is a wide receiver that's had a very low floor on a week-to-week basis as well. Of course, we see the ceiling being there a week ago. I think that's more so recency bias. I don't know if we should be betting in on Russell Gage or not. But you know where it's going to really come down to, and I hate to just dance around this. I think we're just taking the under on Matt Ryan. I mean, with Matt Ryan, it's kind of funny to see his number down here being this low. But at the same time, this is a quarterback that, I mean, come on. I mean, if you're looking so far this season, over the past month, he has had over 200 passing yards once. And this is a very tough matchup against the Carolina Panthers. We're going to go through and we're going to take this under on Matt Ryan as well. And we're going to bet 17 to win 102 here. Okay, so now let's go down to our next set of bets. This will be the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants. And it's funny to see they finally have adjusted. They finally have put Courtland Sutton down where he belongs. And I apologize. This is the Denver Broncos against the Detroit Lions. For a second, I was wondering what was a little bit off there. But nonetheless, they have Jared Goff as well at 210 passing yards. Now, what seems interesting is they have a 20-yard gap here between Jared Goff and Teddy Bridgewater. Whereas if you're going to go through and check what they have on just the rivals side of things, you're going to look at Teddy Bridgewater. They actually have him. I guess that's closer to 20. I thought that was sitting at 10. I apologize for that. Let's switch back to this side of things. But nonetheless, I think that taking the over on Teddy Bridgewater is a little bit of a risky thing to do just because, I mean, A, who are you picking to correlate that with? Are you going to go Jerry Jeudy? Are you going to go Tim Patrick? Like, I don't necessarily think that you can get excited about any of these Denver lines. And B, at the same time, you know what? This just popped out. Amara St. Brown, of course, that he is a wide receiver in a PPR format, you can be slightly intrigued with because in a PPR format, he's going to get a lot of cheap receptions that are going to stack up. But this is a slow slot wide receiver that does not really have big playability. This is a wide receiver that has gotten to 50 receiving yards. I mean, since the bye week over the past month, he's gotten there twice. Didn't get there the previous 3 weeks. I mean, I think that we're going to go through and we're going to take the under on Amara St. Brown. Right now, you have Vegas projecting the Detroit Lions to be a bottom 3 offense this week. So I think we take the under on Goff. We take the under on Amara St. Brown. And if we're going to do that as well, we want to go through and we want to take an under on the other side. Now, Courtland Sutton, as we have mentioned over and over and over again, he has been horrendous. He has been horrendous in Denver. Since Jerry Jeudy has returned over the past 4 weeks, Courtland Sutton has not had 30 receiving yards single game. So yeah, let's go through and we're going to bet the under on Sutton as well, even though obviously that is a very low mark to get to. And let's bet 17 to win 102. Now let's go to our next game. This will be the New York Giants versus the Los Angeles Chargers, where you don't have the lines for Mike Williams and Keenan Allen because Keenan Allen's going to miss. They don't know if Mike Williams is going to play, so they're going to be looking at a very limited set of lines. And because you have no Keenan Allen here, and this is a good matchup, my God, you have to take the over with Eckler. I think that this is a given. I'm going to be taking the over with Eckler and honestly the over with Saquon Barkley as well, because with Barkley here, yes, he was very disappointing a week ago, but we know this is a run funnel defense against the Los Angeles Chargers. So I think that we're going to take both of these. Eckler, I think he can get there based on the fact that they're going to have him as a heavy running back in the receiving game, and also with Barkley just because it's a great matchup. So we're going to bet 17 to win 51 there. Okay, so now let's go to our next game, and this is going to be the San Francisco 49ers against the Cincinnati Bengals, where they have Jeff Wilson at 57.5 rushing yards. And one thing that I really need to put out, and that we were just flat out wrong with this earlier in the live stream, is we were talking about the possibility that San Francisco was going to be in a 3-man backfield, and that is incorrect. Trey Sermon was placed on the IR last week, so I apologize for that. But nonetheless, I mean, I think that you can go through, we can look at some of these lines and maybe just pick our spots and take this under with Kittle. No, I can't do it. I can't bet against our guy. It's funny to see that they have Chase and Higgins at identical receiving yards numbers. We're going to avoid this game. I think there's too much up in the air right now with Deebo Samuel looking like he'll play, but we're not for sure. So let's avoid that game. We can circle back in the morning. Now, our next game should be a full-blown shootout with the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right now, I mean, oh my gosh, I should have bet this game previously. I believe you could have got Chris Godwin earlier in the week at about 68.5 receiving yards. They've moved Mike Evans down to 62.5. That's very interesting. I think this would be a fun game. Like if you were going to take some overs and you just wanted to have a good time watching a game of football, this would probably be the one that you smash the over on Brady, you smash the over on Allen, you smash the over on Mike Evans as well. And in reality, I think we're probably just going to have to avoid this. I don't necessarily think that we can be too excited about it. But I think that should be it. We'll, of course, go through and we'll make some more bets tomorrow morning whenever we're doing our start sit live stream. Of course, we'll be live streaming tonight as well to answer about as many questions as possible. So please, if you have not done so already, drop that like, subscribe to the channel, even though I know everybody watching this has already done that. And of course, the number one way, and please, if you have enjoyed a single video if you've enjoyed this channel this season and you're wondering, how can I make Mason's Day better? How can I support the show? The number one thing you can do is go deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy through the link in the description of this video and use promo code FLOCK. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar. It's available in damn near every single state. And I promise you, there's not a single thing you could do to support this channel more. And obviously, they have a bunch of drafts we're going to get in. They also have these player props you can check out as well. But I think that's all we got for y'all. Really hope that we see you out in the live stream tonight. Thank you so much for coming out. Let me give some shout outs to everybody real quick. We got Vanguard, Eiley, Reflex, Gabe, the People's Champ, James, Garrett, Fierus, Mr. Squad, MSH, Orlando, and Vanguard. Thank y'all so much for coming out to the stream. I genuinely appreciate it. And I think that should be it. I hope y'all have a great day.